Boys and girls, children of all ages, we interrupt your regularly scheduled nonsense to bring you a very special programming event. Because why is it an event? Because I'm not alone. I actually have two people in here today, so let's make life interesting, shall we? So, today we're not doing veteran-owned business. One of you was paying attention last week. We've got a nice little program. I think you recognize my friend in the back. She's a little fuzzy because she refuses to come forward, but she's going to learn that as we go through the program so that we can all enjoy the wonderful things she's done to this. Or she needs to stay there. Let us know in the comments. It's always fun to see that as well. But hey, my name is Erik.
Do you see why I didn't come back for this long? I'm just saying.
Once again, my name is Erik. As long as people have got low metabolism, no motivation, and that very limited energy, I'm still going to sell ketones. Zeba. To my left, you may recognize her from the last time we had a nice little programming event, which we are now calling, thank you to the viewers that voted, Cyberfire. Deal with it. Cyberfire.
Oh, that's me.
That's you. Cyberfire eyes. See, eventually it all clicks. She's still fuzzy. You gotta love it. Michelle, she is co-owner of that up-and-coming, what is it, H squared?
M squared.
M squared. Oh, yeah, Michelle. Okay, yeah. H squared, M squared. I only come in here for Thursday, maybe Friday once in a while, but she's doing a lot of amazing things. If anybody ever goes to karate, you can see the amazing things she does to me when she knocks me down and picks me up and knocks me down again.
You pick him up?
No, I don't.
She kicks me up. She picks up my spirits and knocks down my pride. It's beautiful. Show up to Chosun Martial Arts for 50 and above. I'll get hit for that later from the ladies. And to our far left is Michelle's sister. You may have recognized some of the announcements I made for Rose's Poses. Well, guess what, kids? This is Rose. She is the sole proprietor. Well, co-proprietor. Well, sole proprietor. Sole proprietor, you know.
It's just me.
It's a party of one, but she runs a good show. Trust me, I know on Mondays. Hopefully, maybe we'll see what's going on. It's a long weekend. Oh, I got that event. But we'll talk about that later. Like I said, today's Cyberfire, and Michelle and Rose are going to have a nice little conversation. Michelle didn't clue me in because with all the text messages, it took me a lot to decipher exactly what she said. So I'm going to go ahead and sit this one out. Fuzzy's going to come forward. Come on.
Fuzzy's coming forward. Yeah, he's never going to keep himself out. So
Never.
I figure he's just going to throw in when he wants to. So I got to visit with you guys at the beginning of the holiday season last year, and we talked about things to look out for and how to protect yourself as you go into the shopping season, and the fact that we have these issues with criminals and cybercrime, right? So we talked a little bit about that, and then after that I said I would come back, but then during that conversation I said I would come back, and then afterwards I was like, they don't want to hear this, nobody listened, and then
she saw the 500 plus views that show got and realized they like me. They really, really like me.
Either that or, I have no idea.
It was a slow Thursday.
Yeah, it was a slow Thursday. Or
I just hit play and play again. Eventually it worked.
It worked. Okay, that could be the case. But anyway, I am a cybersecurity consultant and professional. I've worked in the IT field and cybersecurity for all my adult life. And part of what I've done with that is I've accrued a lot of knowledge and experienced a lot of stuff, even through my friends and my family. So instead of actually talking at you, we thought, and I talked with Erik about it, and he actually didn't tell me no, well, what if I talk to a lot of people come up and talk to me about their cyber crime experience or whatever happened to them. So instead of me talking to everybody, we thought, what about having somebody come on and talk about their experience, and then we can talk about what that would look like, how you might feel through it, and then also some of the things that you might be able to do. And so Rosie, because she's my sister and she was willing to help me out, very short notice, said,
Checks
okay.
in the mail.
Yeah,
Checks in the mail.
So, Rose, now that tell us a little bit about you and your experience that you had, and then we can just talk it through.
Okay. So I have a yoga studio, and I've had my business for over 9 years. And I was at work. I also have another job, and I was at work, and my phone rang, and I picked it up, and I noticed it said Chase. So on my caller ID said Chase. I'm like, I wonder what this is. My bank account isn't with Chase, but I have a Chase credit card, and our personal account is through Chase. And I answered, and the gentleman introduced himself, said he was with their fraud department, said that he gave me a particular person's name, and said that, asked me if I had Zelled a certain amount of money to that person, and I said, nope, don't even know who that person is. Goes on to tell me this person is in Texas, and he's giving me just all these details, and they need to stop this transaction from going through, and they need me to go on to Zelle, and they're going to give me a series of codes, and that'll stop this transaction from going through. I said, well, I haven't Zelled anything, and I logged on to my bank account while he's on the phone with me. I logged on to my bank account, and I'm like, I don't see any Zells on here at all. There's nothing that I've sent. I really don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, well, because right now it's still pending and you're not going to see it on your end. We're seeing it on our end, and this person has been doing this repeatedly, and we're trying to catch him in it, and we want to stop this so that you don't become a victim of it. And part of me is like, this doesn't sound right, this just doesn't sound right. But there's a lot of pressure coming from the other end of the phone. And until this happened to me, I considered myself very savvy. And he's like, just go on. I'm going to give you this number. You enter this number in here, and then I'm going to give you this code. And I'm like, well, he says, the next screen that comes up, I'm going to give you this code. And he gives me this 5-digit number, and he says, enter that in. I'm like, no, wait, this looks like I'm going to be sending you this amount of money, and I can't do that. I'm a small business. I don't have that kind of money. I can't do this. And he's like, well, you've got to do this. It's the only way to stop this transaction. And he's going on and on. In the interim, I opened a new tab on my computer because I had that open, and I Googled Chase fraud customer service. That phone number came up. I asked him to hold. I called that number, and it was Chase. And it gave you all the options, so I'm like, okay, I must be speaking to somebody authentic. And so, I just hung up on that, and I entered the number that he told me to, and sure enough, sent over $700 to this person. And then he's like, now we've got to have another code entered in there, and he gives me another code, and I'm like, no, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I have to get on the phone with my bank. Mm-hmm. I said, you're going to have to hold. And I put him on hold. He's on my phone because I called him my cell phone. I used my office phone, and I called my bank. And I got through to my bank, and I can hear him saying, we need to get this done. And I'm like, I need to talk to my bank because this just doesn't seem right. I think I just sent you this money, and no, I'm not sending you another $3,000 and wiping out my account, because that's what this code that he was telling me to put in was going to be. So finally they pick up, and I explain what's going on, and they then told me, he's like, just keep the guy on hold. Of course, the person from my bank is very calm. I am very anxious. Inside my stomach's in knots. I know I just sent this person money. Am I going to be able to recover this money? I have no idea. Are they really true and honest? And who am I supposed to believe? Because everything seemingly was checking out. So the guy at my bank, he's like, no. He says, are you in your bank? I said, yes. He goes, you need to go on. He's talking me through everything. He's like, you need to change. He says, just in case, I want you to change your username and your password for access to your online banking. Do that now. So it talks through, I do that. And then this person on the phone is like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And my bank's like, no, you don't need to do that,
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, there are no Zelle transactions other than what you just did. And you just sent that person some money. And I was like, oh God, And he said, tell them that, you're hanging up now. And I'm like, but what if? He goes, no, not what if. He said, you're getting scammed. He said, I can't make you do anything. My bank's telling me this. So I pick up my cell phone and I tell the guy the Chase guy, that I'm hanging up now. We're not doing this anymore. And he's like, well, is that what you want to do? And I was like, I want my money back. At this point, I want my money back, and I'm not going to be sending you anymore. And I'm hanging up now. So I hung up, and I got back with my bank, the person from my bank, and they, he tried to calm me down as much as he could because I was really very anxious at that point. And he said, you need to go into your bank. He goes, go in tomorrow. I can make the appointment for you now to go in tomorrow. You're going to need to shut this account down and open a new account. It was a hassle. I mean, it was a hassle. And it took quite a while to close one account and open another. And then, as it turns out, they didn't actually close my account. They just put a stop on anything going out of my account. I could receive money, but I could not spend any money out of that account. And then they opened a new account for me, transferred some money in, left some money in the old account just in case I had any automatic deductions or anything that were going to bounce around, although they wouldn't have gotten the money anyway. And then the lady at my bank was very nice, and she wrote up a request explaining everything to try and get that money sent back to me, which I have not gotten back. And
How long ago was this?
It was November, December.
November, December.
Yeah.
We almost expect that you're not going to get the money back
Mm-mm.
right now.
I would assume not.
Yeah.
So, expensive lesson learned. For me, it was. I mean, for some people, $700 isn't a lot of money. For me, that's a lot of money.
I think it's a lot of money for almost anybody.
Yeah.
Except for the people who'd never get scammed anyway.
Right. So that was that experience, and I really, after that, I felt mad at this other person. I felt mad at myself. Like, how could I be so stupid? And then I also felt like I did everything I could have done except listen to that gut feeling about not doing what I did. Not entering that code in that ended up sending that money.
Yeah.
So that's that story.
Well, I think the good thing is that you actually, the gut thing, you listened to it, something wasn't right, and you got hold of your bank, and then they were able to help you. I think that was a really, really good thing.
Should have done it from the get.
But and that's the thing, is like the thing about it is, and I've said this to anybody who listened to me when I talk about cybersecurity. The fact of the matter is, for the most part, these are criminals, and they're just going from doing things face to face to doing it remotely and getting your money remotely. It's a lot less risk to them. And if they do that scam on 20 people and they get somebody, 5 people out during that day to send them at least $700 a piece, they had a good payday, right? So it's not that anybody who gets taken into this is ever stupid. It's just, one, you're a good person, and you don't think people are going to treat you that way. She's a yoga instructor. We argue back and forth all the time. I'm in security. I trust no one. It's back and forth.
And I'm happy-go-lucky, and nobody's going to do me any harm ever.
Right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with having those two outputs or those two views or any place in the middle. So it's not. And my take is, it's not that that we should be feeling shame about something like that happening. But there were a few key things that that would help right away when you start getting into that. There's nothing that you did wrong, but and I'm sure people have heard this multiple times, but when you hear a story where I could say to you, and I did, we talked about it 3 months ago, if somebody's pushing you to do something quickly and now, then that's the sign that there's a problem, right? And in that instance, that's what actually happened in that story, because it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, right? The fact of the matter is, we really need your help. We need your help now. We have to do it now. And you're a good person. You want to help. Most of you out there, I'm going to say all of you out there are good people, right? All of you are out there, they're good people. You want to help. And so, of course, you want to take that step. Did you just sneer when I said all of you?
I smiled. Can I not smile?
Oh, I see.
See?
And in that
Good people.
and
Now I'm sneering.
and in that instance, that's what it is, right? It's just the simple fact that you want to help. They're pressing you. They say they need you. They're pushing the buttons, and you need to do it now. The fact of the matter is, most of the times, that's not how this kind of stuff works. My sister and I talked about this before we came through, but I'm going to put you on the spot. If there's a problem, how does your bank or your credit card contact you?
Usually they're going to call.
Okay. And do they tell you that we need to have you do something immediately in your account?
I've actually had some like that going, hey, this is so-and-so bank. We've noticed an issue. We need you to do this. But with my background, I was like going, I can't do this at the moment. Let me go ahead and get back to you. And then exactly what you said, it needs to be done now. Otherwise, I was like, I know, but unfortunately I've got something that needs to be done. And then I'll hang up with them. And then I'll end up calling my bank saying, hey, is there a problem with this and this? And he's like, no.
Right. So when your bank normally, and it's official, you might get a text, and we know what that text looks like. When you see that text, you want to make sure that where it's coming from is exactly where it's supposed to be coming from. In the case of Rose getting that telephone call and it was Chase, it was probably spoofed. They can buy that kind of stuff and bypass it. But it's the point that they'll send you notifications, but they'll never generally ask you to do what
Actually, I did get a text, and I did get it from USA, but it didn't sound right. So I did call back to the bank, and I said, hey, I got this text. Is this legit? And at first they said they'd never heard of it. I was like, okay, I'm not doing nothing with it. They did contact me later and said, okay, that is actually a legit. We just didn't know about it, that it went through. It was like, well, okay, we've already talked. But anything that, Lisa, anything, at least from my side or anything that I talked to Ren and stuff about, if they get a call or a message, email I don't trust whatsoever.
No, absolutely not.
And especially with the one comment just got, if you receive a QR code in the mail, never open.
Yeah. You should have heard me talk about, okay, so I travel a lot, and what happened, I think, during COVID, at the airports now, they don't even have people come and wait on you. They actually have QR codes, and people just use their QR code to take them to the menu and to order. I'm like, F this. That's not what I said. I was a sailor. I used the 4-letter word. I'm going hungry. I am not going.
It's okay. You can use that word on here if you want to. This is veteran-owned business.
Oh, okay.
But yes, I know exactly where she also used that word over at a certain wing place on Wednesday night that I'm still waiting for my promoter to sponsorship. I can't be that deep in the calendar, Jeff. Oh, I'm sorry. Did that come out? Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. But she used that too because you were looking at the QR code and they said, use the QR code. And you were like, nah, I want a menu.
I asked for a menu. Because and you would think, okay, well, everything looks right. And the problem is you don't know if somebody did something, even if you're in a restaurant, you don't know if somebody, put a fake QR code on something or other. And I talked about this, and I'll always talk about this. There's this level of risk that anybody wants to accept, right? And there's a risk tolerance. Some people will say, screw it, I'm just going to do this. I'm hungry. I'm going to take the chance. That's absolutely acceptable because that's where your risk tolerance is. You're okay with that. You're going to take that chance. But I work in security. Even security people get taken. Absolutely. Because it's very sophisticated anymore, right? We don't get the Nigerian prince with the bad spelling emails anymore. This stuff is real.
I still did.
Did you really?
I've still gotten them. Last year I got a couple. Those I knew. I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. And I just let Google know. I now send it to Google to their spam. Whether they do something with it or not, I have no idea. But I send it out to them so that they know that it's spam.
So that was one of the first things. If somebody's pressing you like that to do something now, hold off on it. And the other thing is, if they're saying to you, and you'll say, hold on, I'm going to get off the phone. I'm going to call my bank. I'm going to do this. If this is really who you are, give me your number and I will call you back. What's your name? Right? And if there's any hesitation or something like that, that's going to tell you something's not right, right? Or they could give you all that information. That's fine. You go ahead and call your bank. You tell them what's happening, and your bank will tell you what you should or shouldn't do. Oh, and quite frankly, if you try to call back, they might answer, they might not, because to them, it can be a long scam, right? If you think about it, they're just using technology to do what they used to do in the past. Like, Rose, they're still doing that, right? What happened in your neighborhood?
Oh, which one?
Oh, yeah, the guy that comes up to the front door.
Oh, okay. So I was at the studio. This is just recently, just a week and a half ago. And Jeff was at home. And
that's her husband.
Yeah, my husband was at home. And he said there was a knock at the door. So he goes to the door. And this person identified themselves as being with immigration. And hands him a business card, which, okay, we can all have business cards made up. That I know, okay. And we can call ourselves whatever we want. And they asked my husband if he was a citizen. And then they started asking questions about the neighbor. And my husband's like, I don't know anything about the neighbors. We haven't been here that long. And, he just let it go at that.
Yeah, because that could be the first step in casing a neighborhood, right? Do they live here? They're only here during the summer, blah blah blah, and that's how people can gather information if they want to, and it's not scaremongering. Just listen to your gut, right? What's the likelihood, truly? What's the likelihood of a government official coming up and knocking on your door, showing you a business card instead of a badge? With two people, all those things. What's that likelihood? And that's when you listen to your gut and you say no, thank you, and then you just have to shut the door.
And to go back to what you said about the long game, in the situation with my bank account, I was the following day when I was in the bank changing my account, my phone rang 3 times, and it was that same Chase number. So I know they were trying to call back and trying to get the rest of that money still. And that continued for about a week. At least once a day I was getting this phone call, which I did not answer. At that point now I'm terrified to answer anything. Don't even try and, I don't care how official you are, I'm probably not going to answer it anymore,
I'm sorry, because that's what happens with me too. Sometimes I just don't answer. I listen to the voicemail, and if it's something that I know as a veteran, right? I get a lot of veteran information and calls and stuff like that, and I'll listen to my voicemail, and then I know the numbers, and I call them directly like that. That's my comfort level. It makes me feel better.
And that's a good idea. I mean, for me, owning my own business, I try to pick up that phone. Because Google Analytics, will tell you how many people looked up your phone number and how many times they called you and whether that call was answered or not. And as a business owner, you want to pick up that call, but you don't know who's calling. And I have the caller ID thing on my phone, and I pay extra for it. And the ones that say potential scam, I'm not going to answer. The other ones that come up with a name, I feel the need to answer because I am the business owner. That is my business number as well as my,
Sure. And there's always going to be risk with that. And it depends on, oh, speaking of, but it's not a scammer, it's my husband. He could, I don't know. But the.
Trying to scam you out of dinner.
Again.
But the biggest thing is listen your gut. If they push you to do something immediately, pull back, right? Call your bank. Do the things that you need to do that way. One of the other things too, I would say, I would, if I had kept on getting those numbers, I probably would have reported it. That would have either been considered a cyber crime because or because it's financial, they're messing with the banks, or you could go to the Trade Commission, right? And they have lines put up that you can report fraud. So that helps them at least see patterns and stuff if citizens
So if you don't
report
have
it.
those numbers now, maybe your next time in with Erik, you can give people those numbers, because I know when you go online and you Google something, you've got a list this long. What's what? What's what? Who am I supposed to call? Where am I supposed to be reporting this to? So to maybe have something a little more direct.
That's a great idea, Rosie. Where did you get that idea from?
She might have some stuff, but this one was new, okay?
She might know a few
the
things,
whole
a few
trade commission
things.
she never mentioned in advance.
But yeah, absolutely. I was one of the things I was going to give to you that we could post is so that people could just have that. That's the other thing too. I mean, and one of the things that happens with crime though is this feeling of lack of empowerment. And by being able to report something like that, that also helps people feel a little bit better, like they were able to do something. So there's those two actions as well. Now, there are people who work in the field who, when they get calls like that, mess with the people who call. You work in this kind of stuff too. You have a pretty good sense of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I've had friends talk to me about how they just string people along and keep on messing with them. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. I just wouldn't. So if any friend says just mess with them, it's up to you. But where you mess
You're
with
playing somewhat of a game if you're trying to do that, and
yeah.
it's either going to work in your favor or against you more than likely. Now, if you're going to keep them on a line and you got equipment in line to where you could try to help trace and provide that information to the people who know how to do it, or get with in advance going, hey, I'm getting these numbers so they can assist, then maybe they're going to guide you on what you should do. But just to say, I got 10 minutes to spare, no, I wouldn't suggest it.
Yeah.
And I think something else that's new that's coming along, and this is my third text that came this way. Somebody will reach out and say, oh, hi, Steve, it's Bob, and we met at this show, and I was reaching out to you because I'm going to be in the area, wanted to get together, and then it starts a dialogue. No, this isn't Steve, this is what we're interested in. Is that something you're interested in? You want to... I had one when I was back in Florida, and it was somebody that had been to a fashion show, which is not uncommon in South Florida. They have Fashion Week and all that sort of thing in Miami. And he was supposedly a designer and all of this. And I'm like, no, and I'm nice. I'm not like pack sand, buddy. I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting. The conversation goes on, and then it's like, oh, well, here's my WhatsApp information. Contact me on WhatsApp. I'm like, no. And then just today I got another one. But this was Aaron trying to reach somebody else that they met at the gem show, and that was just today before I came here.
So,
and that one, I'm like, I'm sorry, you must have the wrong number, and oh, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not disturbing you, and I just let that one go, and I deleted.
I've had a couple of those where like going, hey, we got the presentation together, are you ready to go at 11 o'clock? On WhatsApp. Long story short, is going to like going, it'll lead to some form of, I deal with cryptocurrency. I'm like, yeah, okay, you're gone.
and I think with that kind of stuff, people, you're nice. I would say and this is going to sound harsh. I know this.
And if it wasn't harsh, it wouldn't be Michelle.
Texting is a one-way communications in the fact that, or half duplex if you did radio, right? You send a message and then you have to wait, and you don't know who's behind it. You don't know this person. If you just delete the text, you are not being rude. Let me repeat myself. You are not being rude. If they actually, truly thought they were sending it to somebody and they didn't get a response, they would call the person or resend the text. So in my eyes, I get those two. I'm like, I know that sounds terrible.
No, but I just wanted to bring it up because we're talking about, cybersecurity and
Different ways they reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then for somebody like me and anybody that has their own business, whatever state you happen to live in, you have to register that business with the state, and that now becomes a matter of public record. So my home address is a matter of public record. My business address is a matter of public record. So anybody can have that.
And that's a great point. She has the benefit of actually having a cybersecurity professional in her family, but I am a consultant, cybersecurity consultant. I can help with that kind of stuff, believe it or not. If you have a business, I can help with that.
Okay.
I know, right? She lets me go sit in class and get all bendy, and then I'll help her with the tech. Well, with the security part.
You can help me with the tech too. That's Eric. Eric's gonna help. I'm the least technical person.
I'm going to play with that social media very soon. And I've got ideas. I'm going with that right way and wrong way.
But I want to say thank you. Rosie actually has class. She actually was willing to come in and do this before she taught class, which I really appreciate.
Oh, my pleasure.
And
let somebody else learn from my mistakes. I would really love for nobody to have to go through what I went through, because as calm and together and relaxing that I am, I was in this state of panic. I don't want anybody to have to feel that. Just call your own bank. Put them on hold, tell them to call you back, whatever. Call your own bank, and then, learn from me.
Absolutely. And if anybody has any things that they'd like to talk out about what happened or things, just reach out to Eric. And we'll talk about how we...
And I'll segue it over to Michelle, and she'll be more than happy to assist.
Yeah, and then we could actually have that as a topic of discussion. And I would love to know if you find this format helpful. You said that a couple of people said it was helpful?
Yes, I had a couple of people say it was helpful.
That's awesome. I really hope that we helped, and that made you feel a little bit better knowing that you're not doing anything wrong, right? And just stop. It's not, you don't have to rush into anything. Call your bank. You've got those numbers saved in your phone. You know those numbers. You've used them before. They're safe. That's the way you go. And if anybody presses you and says you have to do something now, I would question internally, really? And another thing too.
She'd say F off, goodbye.
If they press you like Michelle has pressed me on, I don't know if we should do it again. How many views we got now? We got enough. You could do another show.
And there was one other point that I wanted to make too. In general, they're not going to call you up and say, we need your help to catch this bad guy. Right?
Facts.
There are laws, there are processes, there are things that our what is the term? Law enforcement, whether it's federal or state, because realize if this type of stuff is crossing state lines, it becomes a federal issue, right? That they have process and procedure. In general, they're not going to call you up and do that, and neither is your credit card company.
Expensive lesson learned.
All for the value of free on this broadcast. Cyberfire. That's what we do.
That is so silly in the name.
You know, say what you want, but that's what they voted for, and that's what they like.
I think it sounds good.
Or we could go Cyber Fire Eyes, and she understands exactly what that means if you look deeply into them.
No, that only happens when we actually spar.
When she hits me.
He kicked me last week. I got a bruise.
She tagged me one good time. She like going, be a man, get up. I'm like, oh, okay.
You bruised my sister?
That's okay.
Your sister bruised everybody in there. Old Bruiser Brody over here just went to town. Even the instructor said, mira, I got to time out. I got to take a moment. Coño.
Did you just say coño on
Yes, I did. Again, veteran-owned business and video stream. How's it going?
Well, thank you very much for letting us come in and talk
Thank you for
about this
coming
stuff.
on. I do appreciate it. Always enjoy it. I got some last-minute notes because, again, like I said, one of you was paying attention. Oh, but not my phone. Tuesday, April 8th, 5:50 to close. Go on out the docks, watering hole, bring your Sing with Sarah karaoke. And we got a very special guest out there. TC is going to be out there with Making Friends. You see that puppet right back there? That's exactly what he's going to be bringing out there. So go on out, April 8th to Docks Watering Hole. As well as come out to Sierra Vista's West End on Saturday, April 12th from noon to 6 p.m. to enjoy the street fair along Fry Boulevard. Westfest will feature West End businesses and local craft vendors, food, a beer garden, entertainment, and fun for all ages.
Beer garden?
We will be there.
Well, I'm going to be there too.
We're going to be there for the shopping.
Entertainment will include a live band, a DJ, street dance performers, games for the entire family, these two, and a professional chalk artist. All of us. Chalk artists and chalk art contest. Admission is free. I will be taking part in that chalk artist contest because I will be drawing the chalk outline of all of the bodies on the ground. It just went morbid that quick, didn't it? That's what we do here. That's who I am. As well as this Saturday, come on out to the mall. Sierra Vista, first Saturdays of the month. We got about 30 to 40 vendors that'll be out there from 11 to 5. Check it out. Why did I mention West End Fair and also the first Saturday's mall for the vendor event? Because there's going to be a lot of veteran-owned businesses out there throwing out tables, throwing up tents, not pitching a tent. Shame on you. She was thinking it because I felt it right back here, you know.
I don't do that kind of physical labor anymore.
Says the woman that just cut down a bunch of trees.
Says the woman that just beat up everybody in class.
Just saying.
But other than that, tune in next week as we will have Rob back in the studio. Not the puppet, but the actual live individual Rob. He will be back in here. We will have lots to talk about. And as always, if you are a veteran-owned business, you want to come on in and talk about what you do, by all means, go ahead and reach out to me and or the Warrior Healing Center. Or if you would like, you could either have the interview here, or we could go to your place of business, tape it, and play it for next week's show.
Like they did with mine.
And not only do we have this studio, but I have been itching to use that other studio. And I know Marcus is watching. He could have volunteered his producing day today. But it's okay. We'll save it for next week. You see. Once in a while, the rat in the little wheel starts turning. You know, it's a beautiful thing. Until then, we are going to head out. She's got to go to class. Michelle's
an old wheel.
Fun fact: out of all three of us here, I'm the youngest one.
I'm the oldest. I'll own it. I'm happy with that. The middle child.
I'm the middle child.
On that mental beatdown. Everybody take care. We will see you next Thursday.